on. It's been a while since I've been to Arizona, period. I am so overdue because you do have so many great, it's an embarrassment of riches as far as restaurant choices and markets and ingredients and people who are just putting their all into making better food.
You're a national standard bearer and teacher in the food world of the United States, and one of the people who historically helped us attain this sort of awoke foodie status that we now enjoy. And you were a foodie before there was such a thing as foodies, and you came from a place where people didn't necessarily associate the sort of rich culinary traditions.
Absolutely.
I mean, we had, baked scrod and baked beans, and no one was really thinking too much about New England food at the time. And yet you saw the beauty and the simplicity of the masterpieces that became the core of a regional cuisine that has come to now be recognized widely.
Absolutely. I was in the right place at the right time, Jennifer. And your listeners, if they spent any time with Boston, will know I came up in the mid-'80s, and I worked for Michaela Larson and Jasper White and Todd English and Jody Adams, Lydia Shire, Gordon Hammersley. Everybody was coming up at that time, and I really was in the right place at the right time. So I was there for the Renaissance when, especially Jasper White, when it comes to New England ingredients, said, hey, you know what? This is an elegant, legitimate cuisine, and our ingredients are fantastic. So that beautiful fish, all that the shellfish and all the seafood, the oysters. There used to be an oyster bar on every corner in Boston, and they went away, and now they're back.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had my elbow in my ear and didn't really know what I was doing, but I was amongst people who did, and I've had the most extraordinary mentors, and I got to work for Julia Child and Jacques Pepin. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And that, chance favors the prepared mind. I was eager and open-minded, but I didn't plan it.
Well, let's just talk about the fact that the food that you would experience at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel and the food that you would experience at the Durgan Park in Faneuil Hall were really not that much different than each other. Granted, in the French and Adams room at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, you were paying $27 for a bowl of chowder. But the flavor and the finesse of the chowder at the Ritz-Carlton and the flavor and the finesse of the chowder at the Durgan Park were not that different. The lobster fried was not that different. The simplicity of the scrod preparation was not that different. The oysters were exactly the same. In fact, the cuisine that was the quintessential New England cuisine was celebrated in different places in different ways, but it was still essentially that same core cuisine.
I agree. And so this is no secret to you and probably to most of your listeners, simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
It was about the quality. If you go to a place that has, twin lobsters for $10, probably not the best lobster. They're probably not the freshest lobsters. But, if you have...
What, are they lobsters with bad attitudes? Because here's the thing. I mean... Hey, Muggsy. Hey, Muggsy, you got caught. You're going in the pot.
A little tough. A
little tough, yeah. Or maybe, they were on the bottom of the bin when they, at the auction. Who knows? I want to be careful. I don't want to insult, but sometimes, I feel like you get you in many cases you get what you pay for. But I'm suspicious of twin lobster for under $10.
Okay,
even in Maine.
Even in Maine. All right. So the reason I wanted to have you on today is because this is the time of year where I believe New England cuisine sings the prettiest songs. I will make the argument that in the summer months, in the stone fruit months, in the berry months, in the summer months, there is no finer cuisine in the nation than in New England.
I agree with you. Yesterday I had my very first homegrown tomato and my basil and on bread that I made myself. I didn't make the goat cheese, but I did a nice smear of goat cheese, the basil, the tomatoes, salt and pepper, and I was self-righteous. I'm like, I grow my own food
in the North End.
The city. I don't need to even go to the grocery store. And I was a little difficult to be around yesterday morning, but I was so happy.
But you have
my tomatoes, my basil.
Yeah, but at the end of your street, you've also got the Haymarket. Hey, lopes, 2 for $1. You know, I mean, that's a great tradition all on its own.
And the Boston Public Market. And then we have agreed. But strawberry season's over. It was maybe 2 weeks this year. It was short, but were they good? And peaches and nectarines are just starting to come in. Apricots, I'm not sure if we're going to have them this year.
All right, so I need to reach out to you because we've got such a limited amount of time, and honestly, you and I can reminisce. Yeah. This always happens to us. Right. We've got to have you on for like your own 2-hour show. We keep talking about this.
We can do this.
I want you to inspire the audience to bring a little taste of the best of New England to their summer food experience. What are the lessons that you can share with us so that everybody could have a little taste of New England this weekend?
Well, I'm so glad. So we talked also because it's 91 degrees here, and I know in Tucson it's hot. But
108, but who's counting?
Yeah, it's dry. It's a dry heat, though. I know. So, but it's hot. I feel like once it's 85, it's hot.
All right, I got to ask you another question.
Yep.
My friend Jennifer Teufel, who's the editor of, not the editor, the publisher of Tucson Foodie magazine, she and I have this debate all the time. I say, Jen, we just get to the point where it's too hot to cook and it's too hot to eat, and she says it's never too hot to eat.
Never too hot to eat, but sometimes it's too hot to turn the stove on or even the grill. People say, well, just, you don't have to get your kitchen all hot. You can just go outside and grill. Well, if it's 108 degrees or 91 degrees, you don't want to be outside grilling either. So what I would say, with us, we have so much great shellfish and seafood. So a little bit of New England with a twist. So I'm going to put a little Latin twist on it. Some basil, some chili, right? Salt, pepper, and either lime juice and make yourself a scallop ceviche or fluke or redfish striped bass ceviche. So you're not turning your oven on.
So is redfish like a snapper?
Very similar to snapper. They're actually a little bit bigger, and they're one of those underutilized, and they're delicious.
I remember working on that project to give the underutilized species edible names.
Yeah, redfish. They're fantastic. And also plaice, which is in the, it looks like John Dory. Mm-hmm. It's really, not John Dory, Dover sole. And it's practically free because people don't know what plaice is. So I say it's New England Dover sole. Any rate, so you make a ceviche. So you've not turned your oven, and it can be rich, right? You've got those nice ingredients in there. And then just cut up some cucumbers. A friend had some, they call them lemon cucumbers. They look like a small tennis ball.
Yep.
Oh, they're delicious. And some tomatoes. And again, whatever, tarragon, basil, cilantro, whatever you have in your garden, salt, pepper. If you used up all the lime on the ceviche, then a splash of vinegar or lemon, boom, you're done.
All right. And in the minute I have left with you, because that's all it takes, can you teach us how to make one of those fantastic blueberry buckle crumbly baked off with a crusty top kind of a things?
Yes. So there's one in my book, a little local name, but it's funny, like grunts, crumbles, crisps, cobblers, they're all sort of the same thing. So what I would do is toss some Maine blueberries, because they're different than blueberries from elsewhere, with a little bit of sugar and cornstarch. If you want to put some cinnamon in, that's fine too, and just a wee pinch of salt, and then set that aside, and then mix together, I'm going to say, a cup of flour and a stick of butter cut into small pieces and some oats. And then again, if you want to put some tablespoon of sugar and some seasonings like nutmeg, ginger, cinnamon, and that's it. And then just crumble that over the top, pop it into a 350 oven for 40 minutes.
And by the
it's
way,
fine.
when I do mine just like that, literally identical to that, I will, because I'm in the desert Southwest, I will always take my microplane out and zest a little lemon and a squeeze of lemon juice into the berries. Somehow,
Very nice.
lemons
Very nice.
in my berries
it
make them
balances it.
twinkle and sparkle.
No, they do. Acidity will lift the flavor in the same way that salt does, but using a different chemical reaction. So there's no sodium.
Yay. All right.
Yeah.
And do you remember the story that was in Yankee Magazine probably 20 years ago where they talked about all the different names for all the different that you did?
Yes.
I have those torn pages in one of my cookbooks still from that story that you showed us.
Hilarious.
How all of these different things are slightly different with slightly different names. Can I tell you how impactful you've been in my culinary career? Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. You made my day. And thank you again. And hello to all of your listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your show.
The book is called Little Local Maine. It's available on Amazon.com, and Little Local Taste of Cape Cod. Thank you, Annie B. Copps. This is the end of our first hour. We've got more, but when you get home today, do me a favor. Hug your kids, count your blessings, and don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more right after this.